Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Take That, Adolf! The Fighting Comic Books of the Second World War, which is a bit of a mouthful, I must admit, by Mark Fertig. There's the spine. It's 240 pages, you can obviously see it's paperback, nice flimsy paper. Actually, it's a quality paperback. The paper quality is really, really good. It's definitely not poor quality in any shape or form. This is top notch. This is from Fantagraphics Books. Book came out in 2017. And it contains 240 odd pages. Colour generally all the way through. Some text, but not a vast amount. And you got there the details of it. You obviously got all the various Captain America, Captain Marvel, Submariner, Human Torch, Donald Duck. They obviously go together, all those characters. Now that would have been a team up. That would have been a team up, definitely. So you got a nice little introduction, which is always good. You've got some examples there, and of course some of the pictures are not particularly war ones. I mean, they're just pictures of obviously the first comic, Action Comics #1. No, I wouldn't say classify as a war comic, but however, of course, this is a war comic. You got the first BAM as Captain America. Now, of course, this has been printed numerous times over the years, thousands of times, this cover. Many of the other covers in this, and there's 500 of them, 500 brilliant covers, not all that size. That would have been amazing if all the covers had been that size. Would have been a lot heavier book, but still that would have been impressive. You got another classic one that's been reprinted quite a few times, Daredevil Battles Hitler. So you got a little bit of introduction, not a huge amount of introduction, but you got here like Magic Comics, King Comics. There were loads of comic companies producing loads of things, all very unusual titles sometimes. This sort of thing, True Aviation Comics, War Heroes, War Victory Adventures. Now, I have no idea how long many of these lasted. Maybe some lasted a couple of issues. Maybe they went on for quite a while. Daring Mystery Comics. I always love that bit where they always put mystery across it. I'm not certain why they did that. It's just so weird. Why? Especially when the comic came out, I think it was called Daring Comics. And then they suddenly slapped mystery right across. What was the mystery? Did they want to hide up that it was comics? Because that's what they're doing there. Never could understand that. Same with Marvel Mystery Comics. To me, it always says inside, it says Marvel Comics, Marvel Comics, Marvel Comics, and Daring Comics. It never says Mystery Comics. It's weird. So I always think of them as that. However, Captain America got some more. Many of the pages are 4. You got 4 on, but I mean they're really, really sharp, super sharp, as it says, taken restored World War I. So they've been really cleaned up, but not cleaned up in a way that obviously been turned into bright, overly saturated. They're pretty saturated anyway. I don't think they need any more saturation. We're really talking red, yellows, really in your face sort of cup. And the covers must have stood out on the newsstand. Really must have done. I mean, look at, bang, you're going for a newsstand sort of cover like that. That would be pretty impressive. Or that cover there, Captain America. Of course, there's a lot of examples of Captain America in this. And if you get the other books that I think like the photojournal one, that's quite good, but the pictures are quite small. Again, you'd see lots and lots of these brilliant examples. Photojournal one and also the Stranko one. That's in black and white. So they're quite worth checking out. But look at that, Crack Comics. And it's got obviously Quality Comics. You've got Fawcett Comics. You've got all DC Comics. You've got a lot. You've got some really unusual comics. This one, I have no idea who this is by. Ace Periodicals. And you've got there Our Flag Comics. Our Flag Comics. And however, also I think the pose looks very odd. I have to say that does not look very... I love the way he's dangling over the side as well. I don't think that would be very... unless he can fly, that's not a good position to be, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah. You overbalance a bit, I think, on that one. However, Speed Comics, Marvel Comics, and these Marvel Comics are always great. And I love the way that the scale is often thing. I mean, I don't know if there's an example, probably won't be able to show it, but you get some examples where you got enormous, you got like characters that are really big, and he's just gone through there. And sometimes you get little buildings down, or you see various whole sort of invasion, all in the same scene. They really crammed in a lot in the picture. They didn't mess around with that sort of thing. They didn't sort of. But sometimes, of course, you got like the Master Comics ones there. And this one, I mean, Submariner, sometimes it's just completely out of proportion, all the sizes. And some of the things are completely ridiculous as well. The way she's... Probably because many of these things, you always think, when you see them bending these things, you think, well, that'd probably more likely break. Not just bend, it would snap. I mean, there's no way that you could do that. Would you melt it or something at the same time? I don't know. You'd have to... However, who knows? Miss Fury. Not many of those, but still, they were quite, of course, again, Miss Fury, Alex Schumberg, however you say his name, Schumberg. Just great. And of course, you've got Murray there, you've got Bugs Bunny, etc. there as well. And of course, next door to the Human Torch, Catman. I mean, some of these are pretty gruesome. I mean, you got here, you've got poor old, he's not looking good there. Catman, and then Catgirl burst into, I don't know what these other characters are doing there. Whoa! However, National Comics. Now, this book does go in chronological order. So you've got, if you go through it, you sort of look in this, and there's 1942, 1944, 1942, whatever, 43, 44, and so on and so on. So you've got to get a nice sort of run through how it changes by year by year. And you've got, oh, look at that one, lovely. And of course there you've got a bit of war bonds, etc. Donald Duck there. Wow, 10 cents. I think, actually that's the thing that gets you quite often, well, gets me anyway, 10 cents right at the start, 10 cents still at the end. Doesn't seem to happen nowadays. The price seems to go up and up and up. The American Air Forces, Adventure Comics, I love those ones. You've got Sandman there, brilliant. Wonder Comics, and so on and so on. And of course you've got some more details at the back, and Artist Index, which is great. Oh, there's also biographies as well, Lou Fine and many others of Novik. Again, Mac Raboy, and then some more. Index there, and also complete list of all the covers. I mean, you've got a fair decent selection now. I mean, if I just quickly go through that, let's go right from you've got here, Marvel Mystery Comics 2, 4, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25, 26, 27, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, yeah, 36, 38, 40. You can see you've got quite a reasonable run of all of those. And then, even better, of course, a bibliography at the back. And always, I hate looking at those, because what happens, you look at those and think, oh, that sounds an interesting book. And then I have a tendency to think, maybe go off and get that one. Roy Thomas, The War Years one. I've seen that one. I think that's very good. Secret History of Marvel Comics, absolutely brilliant. Lou Fine. Now, that's one I would love to get a book on Lou Fine. Unfortunately, they just seem to be out of print completely. Fawcett Companion, and so on. Marvel Comics, The Untold Story, that was brilliant. Superman, The War Years, that was superb. Wonder Woman, The War Years, absolutely brilliant as well. And Stars and Stripes at the back. Got a little bit of, obviously, information there about Mark Fertig. So, what an amazing book. This is an absolute gem. If you're into those 1940s comics, I think this book is just going to be... No stories. There's no stories in this. No sort of... That would, in many ways, would have ruined it. I think that if they had spent maybe about... Quite often you get these books where there's about 50 pages or 200 pages, whatever, of some of these old comic books. And sometimes you think, why? Why did they include them? The cover's often the best thing sometimes. Not always. But certainly quite a lot of them, the covers are just amazing. So this one didn't go for that. It just went for the covers. It went for the thing that was selling it. And it doesn't actually say covers on, which is slightly odd. See, I think they should have said that on the cover. The comic book covers of the Second World War would have made it a bit clearer what this book was about. And because it doesn't really have too much of the innards. I don't think there's any examples of the innards, actually. No, none of the stories. So it's just purely covers all the way through. Wow, but what a book. Absolutely. I say still, as far as I'm aware, still in print, so worth checking out. If you can get a copy, go for it, because these books, often when they go out of print, they go up crazy prices. So take that, Adolf. Totally brilliant, totally recommended. If slightly a bit, not for everyone, but certainly I loved it.